Nothing but insane HOAs today. Our first story is called HOA Nightmare. I first encountered a problem with my HOA in 2017. My wife at the time just got her PhD and was moving to New York City to start a job. I was there for a few months to help her get settled in. I kept my lawn up, but I missed the notice. I discovered it about 3 months behind the due date, but I noticed that they tacked on $125 a month penalty. Now the rules stipulated a $25 a month late fee. I immediately called to make a payment, but I questioned the inflated late fee. A nice gentleman transferred me to another guy's voicemail, and I explained that I wanted to pay, but I thought that the late fees were incorrect. He tried to call me the next day, but I was working and wasn't able to pick up. Finally, on the third day of phone tag, I spoke to him over the phone. He told me that he sent the account to collections the day before. I'm like, what the heck, dude? I'm actively trying to contact you to pay. The guy was a complete butt. He refused to let me pay, wouldn't give me his full name, and so on. Nonetheless, I get hit with legal fees and blah blah, making the bill about 3 times what it should be. I sent 3 letters to the legal firm attempting to make payment arrangements. All were ignored. We went to court, spoke to the lawyer before meeting the judge, and showed him my ignored letters. He agreed to let me make payments for the full amount over the next 4 months. Sorted. Although, in hindsight, I regret not going before the judge to explain the situation and the screwed up stuff I had to deal with. Fast forward 2023. Making payments, all is good. Then I get a bill, including late fees. I'm confused. I made 4 payments within 4 weeks, totaling the amount that they were demanding. And then I get another collections letter from yet a different law firm. I called the law firm and I left a message that I'd been making payments and would be happy to show my receipts to a judge. The day of court arrives and I show up with my receipts, only to find out that the HOA's law firm requested the judge move the date forward by 1 week. I was never notified, so I didn't show up on that date, so a default judgment went against me to pay nearly $2,000 on a $375 bill. And then, conveniently, that same week, I get a letter from the current law office that my previous payments were sent to the wrong payment processor. They changed payment processors again without notifying me. I'm still tracking down that money as it was never returned to me. Oh, and during this time, I was also not allowed to use the pool or the other facilities the entire summer. One board member called me out and threatened to call the police if I didn't leave, which sucks because I'm on short-term disability and the only physical therapy I can do is exercise in the pool. Now, please note that I am not a troublemaker, and I've never had a problem with my neighbors. But I am a single male, and most of the married hags in the neighborhood, they hate it when I bring women to the pool. For reference, most of those women are pushing 250 pounds, and I bring fit, pretty, and young women with me, and their husbands have taken notice. I've gotten some flack for it, but it's none of their business, and they have a choice not to be fat butts. Here's where it gets fun. As if that's not enough to deal with, the HOA changed property management companies in the middle of all this. I get another notice to pay almost another $2,000. My HOA fees again, $375 twice a year. The notice mentioned something about legal fees again, assuming they didn't get the memo from the other HOA management company that I was caught up. I attempt to log in to pay. My account suspended and they put a lien on my home. So I looked up the payment address and I sent the actual amount owed of $381. Payment returned. I then attempted to send them $400. Payment returned. I finally then sent them $500, which they accepted. I get another statement today. They're demanding another $1,200. My plan is to send all the parties involved, so that's 2 law firms, 2 property management companies, and 2 payment processors, certified letters requesting all my documentation, including like payments and fines, legal fees, and so on. I also plan to keep sending in payments, approximately about $100 a month, until everything is sorted out. At this point, I'd prefer to overpay than deal with this crap again. I found out the hard way what happens if you attempt to resolve bogus late fees without sending payment first. But even though I'm still completely locked out of the payment portal, I can send payments directly from my bank account, which I will do going forward because they can't lose my bank statements. Get this, the HOA board recently decided without a vote to fill in part of the pool with concrete, making it just small enough that they no longer have to employ a lifeguard. This ticked off many people, and it puts children at risk. I intend to send letters demanding the reasons behind, the savings involved, and why the neighborhood was denied a vote. There's also some issues like sidewalks are in poor shape, retention ponds with eroding edges, and so on, and I thought it would be nice to send them official letters demanding action on these things. If no action is taken after a reasonable period of time, take them to small claims court for the amount to have the repairs done myself. Maybe you could start a neighborhood petition to remove all HOA members and elect new ones, preventing the current ones from running again. Overall, the neighborhood is not happy with many things, including the pool fiasco. The pool was already undersized and built for the original half of the first part of the neighborhood, but to make matters worse, another wealthy neighborhood attached to ours recently, not only increasing our taxes, but they also use our amenities without paying a dime in HOA fees. I have no problem sending letters and taking them to small claims court. I'd also like to hold the HOA board members more accountable for the poor decisions. The new property management company has very low scores on Google. They're just not doing their job well and freaking around with members who are trying to live their lives. Now, I'm also not beyond petty. As long as I can get my point across and preferably cause them some headaches and financial pain would be a huge bonus. How do you get more corrupt than this? I mean, a lien, not taking the late payments, really screwing him over, thinking he's just going to lay down and take it. No, you can't do that. This guy's going to lawyer up and take them down. What would you do? Holy cow. You want to report me to the HOA? Be my guest. We were living in a condo complex on the second floor, and my downstairs neighbor was this older couple. The lady had a heart condition, so she was always in and out of the hospital, and I did my best to be respectful of her needs. I have 4 kids, and unfortunately, when you choose to live in the ground level unit, you have to deal with upstairs noise. I am pretty strict about how my kids play inside, so if there was ever excessive noise, it didn't last long. Every now and then, Lady would text me asking if everything was okay, and it was always just a tantrum. Back in August, my husband's maternal grandmother died, and we were not informed, much less invited to the funeral. It's just a whole thing. So, to help his siblings through their grief, we offered to host a lunch for his siblings after they went to the gravesite, and we did a little meeting there. I wanted to clean my porch off because, hello, 4 kids, super messy. I texted my neighbor and very politely but firmly said, "Hey, we're going to be cleaning our porch, so if there's anything you don't want getting wet, move it out of the way." Well, she did not like that at all. She threw a huge fit and had her husband come up and try to bully us. Her grandkids had drawn in chalk on her patio, and we were just going to wash it all away. How horrible of us. Her husband ends up saying, "Well, we'll just report it to the HOA and deal with it that way." I was so irritated. We ended up not cleaning the porch due to some other circumstances, but they had already sent in their complaint. Next week rolls by, and I get a letter in the mail from the HOA basically saying, "You have to keep your porch clean or we will fine you." In comes malicious compliance. I text my neighbor and let her know that we got the letter and I would be cleaning the porch that day, so she needed to get all of her stuff moved. She was all huffy. "Oh no, you can't do that today. I can't move anything. I'll talk to my husband." A while later, she texts and she says he's coming home early to move everything. He's not happy. Gee, I wish we could have done this on a Saturday like I had planned last week. Sucks to suck, lady. It felt so glorious spraying off my porch, knowing that she was downstairs complaining about it because I could hear her phone conversation. I think the kids here are the innocent bystanders of collateral damage because it's their stuff getting messed up, but the lady, HOA lady definitely got it coming to her. What have you done? Terrible HOA revenge. About 10 years ago, me and my wife moved to the suburbs to raise our kids. One of the things we noticed was that our neighborhood had a community pool. However, you had to be a member of the HOA to use said pool. Once we moved in, I contacted them to join, and I was told that they are not accepting new members. I was surprised to say the least, as I was offering these people free money, but whatever. Now, fast forward 3 to 4 years, me and wife had both completely forgotten this interaction. My wife had taken gardening as a hobby and was getting quite good at it, but our backyard is extremely shady. After many attempts, we decided to put in a raised bed garden in the front yard. We did our research and it was not illegal to do so in our city, so I built her one. It came out great. Our front yard looked like something from a magazine, all due to her hard work and not my skill, with many people making a point to walk by and see it. The neighborhood kids loved snatching berries as they played nearby. Perfect, right? That's when the calls started. The city inspector would be by our yard weekly because someone kept reporting our garden. Every time he would come by, we would ask if we needed to take it down or if it was illegal, and he always said no. After a while, we got tired of this game and a little ticked off that they wouldn't come to talk to us in person, so we filed a Freedom of Information Act request to get the name of whoever was behind this and confront them. Once the request was submitted, we never heard back from the city. The anonymous calls reporting our garden also stopped. This would have been the end of it, but our anonymous friend simply couldn't leave well enough alone, and a couple of weeks later, I received a call from what sounded like an older woman. "Hello, sorry to tell you that you're going to have to remove your front yard garden." "Who is this?" "That doesn't matter, you'll need to remove it right away." If you actually want anything to happen, it absolutely does matter. It is not against city law or regulation, and we're not taking it out unless you can provide a lot more information. It is against HOA rules. You cannot have a front yard garden in this area per the HOA. At this point, I realized these are the same people that rejected my offer to pay them free money to join their stupid club, and happily I explained this to her while grinning ear to ear. I could almost hear the color draining out of her face when she realized who I was. Needless to say, the garden is bigger today than it ever has been, and we even threw a couple of kid playhouses up there, cause why not? That's what I love to see. The HOA thinks they're just gonna bulldoze you over, and when they realize what you're up to, you put them out. Nice. HOA didn't like the 3 inches of our tree on the sidewalk. I'm living with my parents temporarily and came home to my dad bitterly putting on his jacket and boots. He's not the type to express his frustration, so I asked, "Hey, what's going on?" Apparently, the HOA, who has only sent us a letter once in the 12 years that we've lived here, sent one today nitpicking our yard. Our Christmas tree was 3 inches on the sidewalk, and it was a hazard to pedestrians' walking space and didn't align with the tree maintenance code that doesn't allow overgrowth onto streets or sidewalks unless 8 feet tall. This also affected the tree across from the Christmas tree, since that thick branch you can see cut out was 7.8 feet tall over the sidewalk. There were a few other nitpicky things, but the letter at the end was like, "You have a week to fix this or you'll be charged $50 a day till it's fixed." We recently got a new head of the HOA who's gun happy to fix the neighborhood, since the old HOA president was pretty laid back during their last years. The letter was pretty passive-aggressive too, with specific measurements, direct quotes from the code, and a speak about keeping the neighborhood nice. I think my dad was even more mad because he's been working on the yard all week to make it nice for the winter and had just the Christmas tree left. So he told me, "Well, if they want it done that fast and are going to be hounding me the moment it's overgrown, then I don't want to risk it becoming a problem over the winter." So we measured the overhang. It's 8.3 feet. In his words, "It ain't pretty, but it's within code." No expected rebuttal from the HOA, as they haven't sent another letter, and this was 3 weeks ago. My dad's only concern is the tree having a dead patch, but he's been meaning to get different trees since that one is coming close to being as tall as our house, and is just too much upkeep for him and his full-time job. Plus, he's getting a bit older, which makes the outdoor work harder for him now. It's the best thing when you can play by the rules and still knock them out, right? I mean, 8.3, 8, that's different. What have you done? That's funny. This story takes place in a glorious HOA. Could you hear the sarcasm in my voice? Let's begin. My husband and I moved into our neighborhood nearly 2 years ago. We have a set of neighbors next to us who, let's just say, haven't always felt the most neighborly. They're middle-aged and older, and the only thing that I can think is that they don't have interest knowing their much younger first-time homeowner neighbors. Anyways, they own 2 large dogs that they will occasionally leave out in their fenced-in backyard. It's only occasionally, not every day, but when they're outside, one of them will bark non-stop. And when I say non-stop, I mean non-stop, until it gets let back in. Usually, they're only out for a little bit, so no big deal. But a few times, they've been left out for a couple of hours at a time, meaning that a couple of hours of insistent, loud barking. At one point, I went down a rabbit hole of looking to file an anonymous noise complaint, but I was told I'd have to start a paper trail where I confront the neighbor about their noise, have them sign a document, then submit it, and basically follow up with any additional complaints. I forget the whole process, but I was not interested in starting a whole process with neighbors on this. Well, yesterday was bad. They let their dogs out at around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and they were out all day, non-stop barking until around 9 or 10 at night when they finally let the dogs back in. I was worried that they'd left for a trip and planned to leave the dogs out all night. After a few hours of that constant barking, my patience was wearing very thin. I was getting very frustrated. I saw in a Facebook group for our subdivision someone call out their specific house, no names mentioned, but specifically described their house and dogs, and asked them not to leave their dogs out barking all day. Someone else went on and commented, complaining as well. There was even another comment on that comment regarding the house. My better judgment failed me, and I went on and I left a short comment saying that I've heard the dogs barking too. They've left them out for hours before. Now, this Facebook group gets a lot of posts every day, so I didn't think it would be seen by many. I expected it just to get buried, and really my main reasons for commenting were, for one, to tell the other neighbors that, yes, we hear it too, you're not crazy, and two, start a trail if, well, there's anything the HOA can do to step in on noise complaints. Well, our neighbors saw it. I forgot the husband has my husband's cell number, so he sent my husband a text early this morning, ticked off, saying if we had a problem, we should have just talked to them in person, not blasted it on Facebook. The wife got the post saying that they're away and their dog sitters left the dogs outside all day. They contacted them and it won't be a problem again, but she was ticked at the claims that it's happened before, calling it all bullcrap. Now, note that I'm not the one that made the original post about the dogs. However, I do completely regret my leaving a comment and really wish that I could go back to last night and have not said anything. My husband then texted me at work, completely ticked off that I would comment anything about our neighbors on social media. I immediately deleted the comment off Facebook and sent apologies to my husband, and I expect he'll want us to both go over and apologize later. My husband hasn't been responding to my text all day. It doesn't help that we had an argument last night about the dogs barking. He wanted to go talk to them, and I said, nah, they already hate us. Let's just find a way to report it to the HOA. Why I thought leaving a comment was a good idea? I have no idea. Literally, I just wasn't thinking. I was just mad and I agreed with others. Today has completely sucked. I've been thinking about it all day at work, and I actually started crying to a coworker about it for a few brief moments. They were supportive, and sometimes we screw up, just apologize and shake this one off, and then gave me a hug. I know I'll have to probably apologize later today after my husband and I both get home from work. Any advice? I'm kind of flustered with words under pressure. This person says OP did not screw up, and OP replies, I was a little upset and freaked out this morning by just how upset my husband was over it. We're both typically pretty chill people, but I think what upset him was that he suggested going over and talking to them. I shut it down on the argument of, it won't change anything and they'll know who complained, and then turned around and did the exact opposite by posting a comment on social media. Actually, I posted right before our argument, but still. Yeah, I mean, if you post it online, there is a chance that they can see it. And if he wanted to go talk to them, man to man, woman to woman, and then you just say no and then post that, I can see where he might be upset. How would have you handled this one? HOA slow kids with an update. I live in an HOA, unfortunately. Our neighbors have taken the liberty of putting up passive-aggressive signs like, slow down, this is a neighborhood, not a racetrack, and drive like your children live here, and the like. I never speed in the neighborhood anyway. I drive like a grandma. I had one of the sign poster houses give me the slow down hand sign very aggressively. I was going 20 miles per hour. I didn't slow down, and he seemed upset. From now on, I've just been slapping my manual transmission into first gear and going 15 to 17 miles per hour in front of his house. This also kicks my RPMs up to 5 to 6K. Much louder and more obnoxious than the 2200 to 2500 that I would have been going at 20 in second. He still gives me the slow down sign, but I don't. I'm considering dropping into low 4-wheel drive so I can hit 6K RPM going 5 miles per hour in front of his house. There's also no posted speed sign, and I've been passed by maintenance people in golf carts. Heck, I drive the same speed as the bicyclist in the neighborhood. The update. The HOA put up a 25 miles per hour sign. All the passive-aggressive signs that the neighbors put up are down. I now drive 20 to 25, and I laugh at our neighborhood traffic guard's dirty looks as I pass his house. None of this was set into motion by me, so apparently many made it an issue. This is truly HOA malicious compliance right here because you are following the letter of the law, the neighbors are ticked off, and apparently a lot of other people are too. What, have you done this? HOA Karen put a lien on my house, but I'm not even in the HOA. Click the video on your screen so you find out what happens to that HOA, and I'll see you there.